This is what it's about, people. This is serious business. This is acrylic paint we're talking about. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I thought I would test out some acrylic paint to try and figure out what the best acrylic paint is that you can buy. Now I only have 11 different kinds of paint from 9 different brands, so this is definitely an unofficial official paint review. But I have tried to match all of these acrylic paints based on colour, so I've picked a red hue, just to keep it as fair as I possibly can. And I've also bought paints from various different price points. So I've got really cheap ones and I've got quite expensive ones as well. And the main things I'm going to be looking for when I review this paint is the application, the pigment, the price is quite important as well, and the coverage. The coverage is a very important one. I don't want any transparent paints. And then at the end of the video I'm going to rank them from worst to best, obviously, and we'll find out which one comes out on top. Also, for this paint test I'm going to be using exactly the same brush for every single paint, just to keep it as fair as possible. And I'm also going to be swatching the paint just neat, and then I'm also going to be swatching it mixed with water, just to see how they perform, because you never know. Anyway, let's get into it. Right, I'm going to start off with the cheapest paint, which is from Jackson's, and it's in the colour Crimson, and this costs £2.75 per 100 mils. And just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's going to be awful. It could be quite good. Okay, so first impressions, it seems like quite a thick paint. Okay, that wasn't too bad. It's, for a cheap paint, it's actually quite nice. I'm not mad at that one at all. I really like the colour. It is a little bit sheer, I'm not gonna lie. It's a tiny bit transparent, but other than that, it's alright. Let's try it with a bit of water. Oh, it actually works really nice with a bit of water. So far, so good. We will see what it looks like when it's dry. But for a cheap paint, I think it's alright. It's performed quite well. Okay, the next paint I'm going to be trying is the Amsterdam Standard series in Pyro Red. And this comes in at £3.20 per 100 mils. And I've actually got the Amsterdam Expert to try out as well, because I am curious to see whether they're Standard and Expert, if there's actually any difference in them, because there's quite a significant price difference. Also, I think one of yous, I can't remember who and I can't remember when, told us that the Amsterdam paints were quite nice, and I've never tried them before, so we will see. Okay, so it's a little bit more runnier than the Jackson's, and it's also a slightly more orangey red than the Jackson's paint as well. That paint is definitely a lot less transparent than the Jackson's paint. It's quite nice actually, I really like the colour of it. The thing is, these expensive paints that I'm trying out later have to be really good to beat these cheap ones, because the expensive ones, one of them especially, the last one, is really expensive. So it's going to have to really perform well. Let's see what this is like with a bit of water. Yeah, I like that. That's a nice paint. I'm actually quite pleased with that one. But you never know, it might change once it's dry. Ooh. Suspense. So next up we have the Vallejo in the colour Rose Madder, and this comes in at £3.50 per 100 mils. And also don't worry if you can't see everything like super close up. I will give you some close-ups at the end of what these paints look like. Okay, straight away this paint seems thicker than the Amsterdam one. It's not as liquidy. I do like the colour, it's very similar to the Jackson's but slightly deeper, slightly darker. Oh, this one smells weird. It's got quite a strong smell. It smells of something familiar, I'm not sure what. Not a bad smell, it's quite nice actually. Anyway, let's just swatch it, stop sniffing paint. Oh no. Oh, this paint's not nice. It's very transparent. Oh, I'm not a huge fan of that one. Oh, that's a bit of a letdown. I would say if you want full coverage paint, you're going to need a few layers of that, because that is thin and quite sheer. Let's try it with a tiny bit of water. It's not bad with a bit of water actually. I think I honestly prefer that paint with a bit of water than I do neat on its own. I'm not a huge fan of that one. I'm going to say that straight away. So the next paint I'm going to be trying out is the Winsor Newton Galleria, and this is in the colour Crimson, and this costs £4.94 per 100 mils. And again with the Winsor Newton, I bought the professional one as well, which was significantly more expensive than this one, so I'm very curious to see if there's actually a difference. I have faith that the Winsor Newton ones are going to be be good. It's quite a traditional brand that's been around forever, isn't it? So we shouldn't be let down by this. I hope not anyway. I don't want to slag you off, but I will if I have to. Okay, I think it's got a very similar texture to the Amsterdam paints. It's a little bit runny, it's not too thick, but it's not like watery. And the colours again like more of an orangey red. Okay, it seems very shiny. It's quite a smooth application, which I appreciate. I really like the colour of this one, it's very bright. Oh, it's not too bad actually. I'm gonna have to go in with a magnifying glass with these paints, you know, to figure out the results. Because I feel like there's gonna be very, very little difference. But that's actually quite nice. I'm not mad at that one. I quite like it. See what it's like with a little bit of water. Ah, it's nice with water. It's very nice with water actually. It almost becomes more saturated and more full coverage with a little bit of water, that one. Ah, what are you up to? Like, look at them on camera, they just look the same, don't they? But it's the fine little details that are going to count. This is what's going to push one of the paints to the top spot, and one of them, it's going to feel down to the tiny, tiny, minute little details. This is what it's about, people. This is serious business. This is acrylic paint we're talking about. Okay, next up we have the System 3 acrylic paints by Rowney in the colour cadmium red hue. And this comes in at £5.10 per 100 mils. And these paints I've used quite a lot actually. I've got tons of these paints in the studio. And they're not an amazing paint. It's definitely not a fantastic acrylic paint, but it's quite a cost-effective acrylic paint, and it's quite good for just abstract paintings. I always find the System 3 paints as well, their consistency to be a bit more kind of gel-like. Yeah, it's not bad. I would kind of compare it a little bit to the Amsterdam Standard. Strangely, it's actually performing better than I thought it was going to. And it's also got like a little bit of a shine to it as well. We'll see what it's like with a bit of water. Yeah, it's quite nice with some water. I quite like it. I like testing paint, it's quite fun. Yeah, it's not bad. I really like the colour of the System 3s as well. All of their colours, to be fair, they've got a ton of colours. Not mad at that for like a mid-range kind of paint. It's definitely not too bad. Okay, so we're just over halfway through this paint test. Hopefully you're finding this very informative and entertaining. I know the suspense is probably killing you, but don't you worry. You know, we're gonna get to the end. I'm on the edge of my seat to see which one's gonna win. What's gonna be the best? And now the paints are gonna significantly jump up in price. So those paints were kind of the lower mid-range priced paints. These ones are getting quite expensive now. Who knew testing paints could be this entertaining? Not me. Also, I don't know whether it's coming up on camera, but I have been picking at my dry skin again. I was gonna put a plaster on my nose, but I was like, you know what, I don't care. I'm getting to the age now where I just couldn't give a shit. Okay, so the next paint is actually the Amsterdam Expert series in the colour Cadmium Red Light. And this comes in at £9.96 per 100 mils. So this is about £6 more expensive than their like standard range. So it should be £6 better than their standard range. Okay, it's a very orangey paint. I would say it's on the slightly thicker side than their standard series. Very orangey. I think it's the most orangey red out of all of these paints. Oh, it smells weird. It's got a very strong scent. Not a nice scent either. Application's quite nice though. It's very smooth. It's going on quite nice. Was their other paint the same colour? No, it was two different colours, so it's quite hard to compare. But my first impressions is that the Amsterdam Expert seems to be a little more smoother in application and a little bit more full coverage. So far anyway. See what you like with a bit of water. Oh yeah, you're nice with some water, aren't you? Check you out. Okay, with water, this paint's really good. Well done, you. So the next acrylic paint that I'm going to be testing out is the Ara Artists Acrylics in the colour Cadmium Red Deep. And this comes in at £13.81 per 100 mils. Ooh, we've got like a weird little bottle situation happening there. It's like a little nozzle. I quite like that. Trying to win me over on packaging. It's not going to work. Or it might. Straight away, I like the red. I love that colour. That's a very nice deep red colour. I think this might be a nice paint, you know. Sometimes when a paint comes out of a tube, you just know it's going to be good. And I'm getting that impression. Don't let me down. Oh, this is nice. Oh, I like this paint. That colour is just something else. That's a nice red. Very deep and dark and mysterious. Again, it's a really nice, smooth, full coverage paint. You've impressed me, Ara. You've impressed me a lot. Hopefully it dries quite nice. Let's see what you like with a bit of water. Yes. You're very nice with some water, aren't you? I think it's a German paint, because it's got a lot of... Oh no, it's Holland. That is nice. I like that paint. I'm quite surprised. I'd never heard of it before. Yeah, that's going to be up there. That's a very, very nice paint. It was on the expensive side though, £13.81 per 100 mils. But still, it's pretty good. Okay, so the next acrylic paint that I'm going to be testing out is by Stuart Semple / Culture Hustle, and it's the Ray Gun Potion in Cadmium Red. And this comes in at £14 per 100 mils. Now, I did test out their full range of coloured paints, and you can see that video in this corner here. And I'm probably going to be comparing all of these paints to this paint, because this paint is so good. This paint is the shit. It is such a nice acrylic paint. Like, I can't say any more good words about this paint. It is brilliant. So if any paint can come close to this, I'll be quite surprised and it'll get some good reviews. So the only issue I have with these paints is that the lids stick, and that can be a little bit of a nightmare. So if you have arthritis or poorly hands, you might struggle with the bottle. Yeah. Oh, you're just so nice. And these paints are actually scented as well. I can't remember what this one smells like. I don't know, it just smells like paint. But it does have a flavour somewhere in there. Yeah, it's a really nice, smooth, saturated paint, and it dries down really nice as well. And they usually work quite well with water too. You're lovely. When I first bought the Culture Hustle paints, I thought they were quite expensive for an acrylic paint, until I realised there are acrylic paints out there that are really expensive. Like the last paint on my list is absolutely shocking how much it costs. And it better blow my mind, otherwise I'm going to be very disappointed. Next up we have the Winsor Newton Professional Acrylic in the colour Cadmium Red Deep. And this comes in at £18 per 100 mils. So obviously we tried out the Winsor Newton Galleria, which was only £4.94 per 100 mils. So this is just over £13 more expensive for this paint. Okay, it's quite thick in its consistency. The colour's quite nice actually. Oh, I think it's going to be a nice paint. I do. I can just tell. It's one of them where you can just tell. Oh yeah, you are good. And none of these paint brands has sponsored this video, by the way. This is all just my opinion. I can already tell you that it is way better than the Galleria one, the professional one. It might change once it's dry, but right now, let's try it with a bit of water. I get far too excited about paint. I don't know what's wrong with us. Yo, I'm not even saying words, I'm just making sounds, but it's really nice with water too. The thing is, it's a lovely paint, but why'd you have to be so expensive for? Like £18 per 100 mils is a lot to spend on paint, but I suppose you get what you pay for, don't you? I want the expensive ones to be shit, because I'm cheap. Okay, so the second most expensive paint that I'm going to be trying today is by Liquitex Professional. It's a heavy body acrylic in Cadmium Red Medium, and this comes in at £27.08 per 100 mils. The thing is, Liquitex is obviously a very familiar brand. I've used a lot of their products before, and I was quite shocked at how expensive their acrylic paint is. It's more of an orangey red, not as orangey as the Amsterdam Expert, and it's not liquidy, but it's not like too thick either. It's kind of just in the middle. Yeah, it's quite smooth. Yeah, it is a nice paint. I'm not like blown away by it or anything. For £27, I was expecting it to make us dinner or something. But it's nice, it's a nice colour. It's very nice application. It looks decent on the paper. See what you like with a bit of water. The one thing I'm finding with the Liquitex paint is I seem to have to use a lot to get a lot on the paper. I don't know why, it just seems to kind of disappear for some reason. I think I prefer it with a bit of water than I do on its own. It's not bad, but still, expensive for an acrylic paint. Okay, so it's time for the final acrylic paint, and this is Golden Artist Colours in the colour Cadmium Red Medium, and this comes in at a whopping £31.66 per 100 mils. Now, I'm just going to say this straight away, I would never in my life spend that amount of money on paint if I wasn't doing a video on it. So I almost don't care how how good this paint is. It must be amazing to warrant it being that expensive. It better be good. If it lets me down, I'm gonna write them a letter. Yes, I'm gonna go all Karen on their ass. I'm gonna speak to their manager and everything. I think this paint's quite a thick paint by the looks of things. I actually have a feeling that this paint's gonna be quite nice, which I'm not happy about. Okay, the colour's nice. It's a very smooth, flat paint. It has a similar issue to the Liquitex one. You seem to have to put like a lot on for it to go. You just kind of have to drag it and it just disappears for some reason. I'm not sure why. Looking at that one, and even comparing that one right now to even the Amsterdam Expert, I can't see much difference other than the colour, because it's a darker colour, which it's going to be because they're two different coloured paints. So I don't know about this one. I don't know about these high costing paints. I don't know whether they're going to be worth it. Let's try it with some water. It's okay with a bit of water, it doesn't blow me away or anything. I don't hate it, but for 31 quid I don't love it. But we'll see once it's dry. It might change my mind. I might be converted to very expensive acrylic paints, who knows. Okay, the results are in, and it has been a very, very close competition, I have to admit. I am going to put on the screen some images of the paint once it's dry, both the paint on its own and with water, just so you can go back and reference it if you want. You can pause the screen, have a good look for yourself, because I'm just going to quickly go through these. Okay, coming in last place, by no surprise at all, is the Vallejo paint. It was very transparent, the application wasn't great, didn't love it. In 10th place, I'm putting the Windsor Newton Galleria. Although it is an alright paint, I just had higher expectations for such a well-known brand, and for a paint that's been around for such a long time. It was alright, but I wasn't blown away. In 9th place, I'm putting Golden, the most expensive paint I tried, and the main reason I'm putting it so far down, I just find it completely overpriced. 8th place goes to System 3. It was an alright paint, it's fine, but it's not going to blow your mind or anything like that. It's just okay. In 7th place is the Jackson's paint. Now, it's not a very good paint, the application's pretty awful, and it's quite transparent. Based on price alone, not bad at all. In 6th place goes to another very expensive one, and that goes to the Liquitex one, just because I found paints that were cheaper than that to be just as good, if not better. In 5th place comes the Amsterdam Standard. That was a really cheap paint and really good paint. I was actually quite surprised. It could give the top end paint a run for its money. I would buy it again. Taking 4th place is the Winsor Newton Professional. It is a slightly more high-end paint, but I do think it's really nice. The quality, the application, the colour, everything about it. Really enjoyed it. I think it's worth the money. 3rd place goes to Ara, mainly because it's a paint I hadn't been familiar with, and it took me by surprise. I was quite shocked. A really nice paint. I would definitely buy their paints again. Now, drum roll please. It's come to the end. Who is going to take first place? Well, I'll put you out your misery right now. And in 2nd place, we're going to have Amsterdam Expert. I think it was a really, really nice paint. Definitely one I would buy again, and especially for that price point. Really, really solid, good paint. Really nice, really pleased with it. And that means Culture Hustle is stealing first place. And it doesn't surprise me, if I'm honest with you, because their paints are just so good. Seriously, they're the nicest paints I've ever had my hands on. Really, really nice. All of their colours, to be fair. So that does it for my unofficial, official acrylic paint test. But let me know what your thoughts are on this little paint review down in the comments, and let me know if you disagree with us. You're more than welcome to. If you did enjoy today's video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, but I'll see you next week for a brand new video. Bye!